2 views waiting. Wow.
Yeah, that's what. And I'm one of them. It's probably Brandon's the other one.
There we go. Hello. Hello. What's going on? What's going on?
Oh wait, never mind. It's got that delayed reaction.
Yeah. What up? What up, everybody? Can you hear me? Hello. Sorry, I started a little late today. I've been trying to set everything up, and it's been kind of a mess right now. But right now I'm just getting all the paints ready, and then I'm gonna start airbrushing real soon. So, just one sec. How's everyone doing today? Black red. All right. I think that's all I need. Ready? You mind grab me a couple mixing cups and then
Which ones? Big ones or the
the
small
little
ones?
mini ones. The mini ones. It's a whole stack.
Well, that's my drinking water, so maybe use the other one.
I want to use your Corona. All right. What's going on, everybody? I hope you can hear me. Hold on, it's in the way. There we go. Can kind of still see it. All right, I might have to talk a little loud.
No, you're good.
But yeah, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the live stream session. For those of you that are new here, I do this every other Friday. It's just an opportunity for me to sit down while working on some cool stuff and talk to you guys. So for today's live stream, I'm not going to be working on Godzilla. That project is on hold up until next Friday. I'm going to be starting back on this, but for today I thought it would be a cool session just to paint up one of my Frankenstein heads. I'm going to try to get it done by the end of the live stream, but if I can't, I'll definitely try to get as far as I can go within the next 2 hours. If I have to go over a little bit just to get some final details done, I'll do that, but I guess I'm going to start working on it without no more further interruption. I'm going to get to this.
Well, Brandon already started talking, and he said, "Robert, you're 4 minutes late. No whining."
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's just because I asked Brandon too to get everything set up for
I'm
me.
Brandon 1!
And he took too long, so yeah, we're just a little bit behind, but we're gonna jump right into this. Let's jump into this. How do I sound, Brandon? Do I need to speak up a little louder?
No, you're perfect.
Good. All right.
You're perfect.
Oh, I know. All right. I hope you guys can see well. This is my Frankenstein. For those of you that didn't know, I sculpted this a couple years ago, around like 2 years ago. And it's just one of my favorite sculptures I have going for me. So I thought it would be fun to set up a little painting session for you guys. Show you guys the process of what it takes for me to finish up one of these guys. So before I started painting this guy, this is a resin casting of 808. I wiped it all down with acetone. You can clean it with a couple different options. You can use AeroPrep, some degreaser, but I used acetone just to really make sure that there's no grimy surface on it. It also eliminates any like greasiness on it, so that the paint sticks to it better and it doesn't peel off down the line. So right now I'm mixing up a little bottle of green transparent paint. This is just gonna help. I'm gonna start off by painting all the highlights in it, just to kind of give it a base color, because Frankenstein is green, but he's not all green. So by kind of highlighting all the main areas of his face gives that illusion. You guys will see what I mean. The primary color of him is actually kind of like flesh tone, but by highlighting those areas, it kind of gives the illusion that he's green without literally making him look like a Shrek. And over here, I'm using my little Sparmax compressor. It's really tiny and portable, and it's really easy to use. It might be a little loud. I hope it's not too loud. All right. Uh-oh. Can you pour me a little cup of acetone?
Just one of these. One of these little ones.
Yeah. Right now my airbrush is a little clogged, so I'm just gonna clean it out real quick.
You can still hear the roll of the compressor, so you're good.
Acetone's kind of great for like cleaning out when your brush is like overly clogged. It kind of just like disintegrates any of the residue in there and just shoots it out.
Brendan said the volume's fine, and he also said this will be fun. I'm sculpting right now.
Can you give me a little sculpting tool with a little sharp edge? I can like kind of peel off some of those. Trust me, guys, we're gonna get to painting it pretty soon. I'm just trying to get this all set up real quick. There you go. Do I really have to deconstruct this right now? Oh, I'm sorry, guys. This is all Brandon's fault. Oh, there we go. Almost there. I usually use like a little coarse brush, and I just go in there and kind of wash it out. Alright. It's been a long time since I've airbrushed. It's been probably like maybe 3 to 4 months. So usually you should clean your airbrush right after you're done using it, but sometimes you might just leave the smallest amount left over, and that's enough to really destroy your airbrush. You can see it's coming out, but it's just kind of weak right now. It's almost there.
I like how you said it's my fault we're behind, but you still haven't cleaned your airbrush.
You're supposed to clean it. Alright. There we go. Alright. So yeah, like I said before, I'm going to start off with the green. And I'm just going to highlight him. It's also been around maybe 4 to 5 months since I painted one of these guys. So I might be slightly rusty. I really hope I don't mess this one up. And if I do, I'm just going to delete the live stream. Alright. Let's see. There we go. Here we go. Here we go. Usually when I start off painting and I don't really know the pressure of it or how much it's really going to give off, I kind of like test it on the side just to kind of just make sure it doesn't spew out a bunch, which if it does that, that really sucks. But that definitely is. Damn, my brush is clogged.
Brandon said, any tips for beginning airbrushers?
For what?
Beginning airbrushers.
Start. That's the only way you're gonna learn. Airbrushing is really kind of like another form of painting. Or it is obviously painting, but it's another medium on its own. You won't know and you won't learn until you just start and you figure it out. I can't really recommend any tips other than just go for it. Just don't be afraid to color. Try new things. Really just give it what you got, you know? Trying to play it safe with an airbrush is same principle of trying to play it safe with a pencil and paper. You just gotta. Here's one thing. I see painting as another form of kind of the sculpture. It's 50% of the work. The sculpture itself is 50% of the art, and the paint job is the other 50% of the art. You can have an amazing sculpture and have a completely terrible paint job, and that will ruin it all. You can have a terrible sculpture and have an amazing paint job over that, and that could literally sell it all. So airbrushing is very important. The final look to your sculpture is determined by the paint job. So that's going to be something you're just going to have to keep testing the waters in. Don't give up and just really figure it out. Like I'm still figuring it out. It's still a process for me. Every time I paint something new, it's a learning curve, and it'll always be. But the more you do it, the more you have a feel for it. Airbrushing is kind of weird because it's not like a pencil where you just put the tip down on the paper and you can see where the line's going to start and where it's going to end. You're kind of just eyeballing it, assuming that when you start painting, it's going to start at a certain area, and as you're moving it, it's going to, follow your direction. So that's another tricky part. That's something I dealt with at first, was trying to make sure that, I wasn't pointing here thinking it was going to hit here and aim somewhere else, just because I haven't yet set that skill set where I can kind of eyeball where everything is going to go, if that makes sense. I also recommend trying different colors. not trying to stick to one color, expecting it to be the final look. Especially with like skin tones, you may think that that you can just grab a airbrush bottle of flesh tint and paint up a human face and expect it to look identical. You know, our skin is broken up into a lot of different colors. It's broken up into blues, it's broken up into reds, and it's broken up into yellows. And if you kind of forget about those colors, you just get a flat look to it. You know, especially like when you look around kind of your cheeks, they have this almost like rosy red blush to them. It's not very noticeable, but it's still there, and adding little things like that, it helps sell the look. You know, our skin in general is broken down into blotches. You can see I have lots of red blotches everywhere, and that kind of it's our skin texture is more complicated than you may think. You know, there's lots of yellows. So just try out different colors, see what works. Don't be afraid to try new things and just keep going for it. And another thing, airbrushing takes time. It's not something you can kind of just rush. You know, you got the sculpture, you got the product. All you need to do is slap a paint job on it and call it done. You know, there's a lot more that goes into the paint than you would think. It's like a Frankenstein. I mean, I've painted at least a dozen Frankensteins, so I'm a little more used to going at a steadier pace. But even a general Frankenstein head takes me about an hour and a half to maybe 2 hours. Because it's just like, it's a canvas. You have to take your time with it. You can't rush it. You can't fake it.
He said, yeah, makes sense. Thanks, Rob.
You're welcome, Brandon. Yeah, airbrushes are very unpredictable too. All it takes is one little clog to prevent anything from coming out. And then once it unclogs, it'll shoot out just a bunch of material. Like that. Yeah, this is a very, very old airbrush, so I might be having a little bit of trouble with it.
He said, how's the shop going? Is it warmer in there now?
No. It's definitely warmer than the last time we did the live stream. I think the last time it was yeah, it was around like 40 degrees in here when we live streamed last time. Right now it feels like it's about like
probably
50,
Yeah, maybe.
which is still cold, but considering when you're just consistently moving and your kind of blood is just flowing, you don't really feel it. Like right now, I don't feel cold at all. If anything, my face feels really hot. But that might also be a sign of hypothermia.
And also, how's just the shop going in general? There was two questions. How's it going, and is it warmer in there?
The shop's going good. I've been starting to build a better flow. Trying to work in my sleep schedule. Trying to get less hours of sleep to get just a few more hours of work in. So it's a little exhausting, but I'm trying to work through this month My Godzilla sculpture, I'm really trying to get done by the end of March. I don't want to keep working on it because I feel like I've already exerted too much time into it. Don't get me wrong, I want to keep working on it until I feel like it's perfect, but a lot of it is my fault. I went a little lazy in the beginning of the sculpture, and I kind of just roughly blocked out the form and the anatomy of Godzilla. So after adding the scales and all the texture and whatnot, I saw a lot of flaws in the sculpture that I kind of was hoping to, in a way, just like bullshit my way through. But at the end, it just didn't look right. So right now I'm on Godzilla 2.0, really trying to fix it. And I've just been working to trying to meet the deadline for the end of March while doing stuff like this too, because obviously I can't just put all my focus into one project. But yeah, things have been going good. There's a better flow in the shop. Brandon's been coming a lot more often, which is great, or Brandon too has been coming in a lot more often, which is great because I just have that extra help. But hopefully when things open back up, there's a lot more opportunities like Monsterpalooza, Midsummer Scream. Like those are a bunch of events that got canceled on me, which I'm super bummed out about. But I really hope to get back into those events. It's good promotion, and it's above all, it's super fun. And I really miss conventions. I miss going to them. I miss selling at them. You just meet so many cool people. You do so many cool things. You see so many cool stuff, and dude, I just miss all that. But yeah, once everything's opens back up, the shop is gonna hopefully get more work and do a little bit more traveling to those events and conventions.
Brandon said, by the way, if you want me to tone down the questions, I can do that. Don't want to seem like I'm distracting you.
Oh, heck no, dude. I love your questions, man.
I commented back to him and said, don't worry about it, bro. You're welcome to ask as much as you'd like.
No, man. You ask the questions that I want to... You ask the questions of the topics I want to talk about.
Yeah, and it makes 2 hours go by a little bit quicker if you're not just in complete silence working.
Yeah, man. I love it. I appreciate it, too. When it comes to painting, I'm not really distracted. I kind of have a sense of flow of where I'm going with all this. So ask away, man. Yeah, you see that? How it was like very delicate and then it just shot it all out. I just got to be careful. Oh, you couldn't see because my hand was blocking the whole thing.
Nailed it. And Brandon said, man, I hope to get a booth someday.
Yeah, man, it was really hard to get mine. I just kind of begged. That's all you got to really do is just be persistent. Not to mention I had a decent resume working at Ironhead. That really helped a lot. But other than that, man, like, I had product ready. That was one thing. He's not going to give you a booth if all you have to offer is an empty promise of just like, oh, I want to do this, I have stuff to sell, I want to sell this stuff, I'm working on this. Like, he wants to see product. And by the time I was asking for a booth, I was sending pictures. I had a decent resume of sellable knickknacks in a way, because they weren't really like huge sculptures. Like, I haven't really started doing big sculptures until kind of like recently. But I had a bunch of little like Frankenstein magnets and Godzilla magnets, or not magnets, but the little head busts, a bunch of face huggers ready, some illustrations. And he saw that and he was like, oh, you're ready to go if I give you a booth. You're not going to embarrass me. Because a lot of the the incentive for you being there for him is the fact that you're bringing people to the event, that people want to come see you again. They're coming to see a certain vendor because they see them every year and they love their stuff. Like I noticed one of the big sellers over there was T-shirts, and I can see why the owner of Monsterpalooza, his name's Elliot, why he keeps bringing him back every year. It's because he brings a lot of people. He made obviously the most sales throughout the whole event, and it was very impressive. He had this massive table of over like 1,000 T-shirts, and by the end of it, he was like left with like 20 or something crazy like that.
Yeah, and at Monsterpalooza, there's multiple T-shirt vendors.
Yeah.
Because I could think of some just off the top of my head, like London, 1989, and like a whole bunch of other people.
Mm-hmm.
They're great.
So if you're trying to get a booth at Monsterpalooza, number one thing I would suggest is have product ready to sell. Don't look like you don't know what you're doing. Have an Etsy set up, have a website, have a huge, or obviously your Instagram's pretty well established, but like, let them know you know what you're doing. And another thing is, I can tell there's not a lot of copycats at Monsterpalooza. Like, it's not the same booth repetitively over and over again, the same person selling stuffed animals, or like 4 different people selling, stuffed bats. Like, I see that a lot, like bats or skulls and stuff like that. Like, he's always looking for original new ideas to help fill in the spots. And to be honest, I don't think I've seen much horror stuff in your genre. So I would say, man, just get on it.
And he said, I'm over here having to basically sculpt a Captain Kirk mask from scratch. Dylan sent me pics, but this is hard. Because he's sculpting that Michael Myers thing. He's sculpting a new Michael Myers.
Oh yeah, sculpting. Is it off an original design, or is it?
It's a design from like a Halloween comic book that like never got released.
Mm-hmm.
And Brandon got the artist's blessing to make a mask based on that comic design of Michael Myers. And Michael Myers is made from a Captain Kirk mask.
Yeah.
So Brandon is making an original Captain Kirk to look like the mask from the comic.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
So it's a whole bunch of other stuff.
Oh yeah, man. That's really cool. Yeah, trying to replicate something's always difficult. I feel it's a little bit more free when it's up to your concept to create a creature. Because, it's up to you. You can make it look whatever you want it to look like. But when you're replicating something, there's specific things that you're always trying to hit those certain detail points. Otherwise, it comes off as, not genuine. Like, that was one reason I loved sculpting this Frankenstein, was because obviously it's based off of the original Boris Karloff design. But I took it probably maybe 65 to 70% of the way of making him look like it, and then I completely derailed and went my own route with my own design. Obviously, he's a lot more textured than the original Frankenstein, which is what I like. I wanted him to look a little bit more old, a little bit more aged. Plus, with copyright issues, I could be wrong, but I think it's like as long as something has a 25 to 35% difference, you're okay. That might be that information might not be as valid as I think it is. Because copyright claims is like that's a whole different thing to get into. There's different rules for different categories of different things, and you can't really just apply those rules to everything, to the majority. Because I know there's licensing for Frankenstein, but there's licensing for the face of Boris, I believe. Like um, I know there's people that go to the events to try to make deals with sellers who are using the likenesses of their grandparents, and they try to swindle money out of you, which in my opinion is disgusting, but they do that. So I know there's licensing for there's 2 licensings for certain universal characters, but that's why I kind of went a little my own direction with this Frankenstein. If I made it exactly like the Boris Karloff Frankenstein, I'm putting myself in danger of copyright issues. Plus, with all my hard work I put into this, I don't want to share the sales percentages with someone just because they're related to whoever's face was used for the character.
About the guy that runs Monster Palooza, Brandon said, it's a shame some people waste his time. I definitely make sure I'm prepped if I ever wanted a booth. And then also about his Michael Myers mask, he said when it comes to the Captain Kirk mask, you have to get it right. Mess it up and no one wants it. I'm not going pure Captain Kirk, but I need that element in there or else no one would be interested. And he said, for sure, you definitely have to have your own spin on it about the likenesses and stuff.
Yeah, especially if you're going to big events like that, you're trying to sell. You definitely want to be careful of your likenesses and what you're replicating. Because that would really suck if someone walked up to your booth and was like, we own the rights to this character. Do you want to make a deal with us and split a percentage for each sales? Or if you're not interested, we're gonna have to ask you to take down all your product because we own the rights to this. You're not allowed to sell it to the public domain. That sucks, especially when you put so much time in and invest into your art. All right. Oh, and just so you guys know, right now I'm not using any reference. Most of the time, pretty much all the time you paint, you should have some form of reference of what you're trying to replicate or what kind of paint pattern you're trying to replicate. But I've sculpted so many of these Frankensteins, I kind of already have a feel for his look. But like I said, it is always a great idea to have a reference with you at all times.
Brendan said, yikes, booths are like a huge game of hot potato.
What's that?
He said, Brendan said, yikes, booths are like a huge game of hot potato.
Yeah. Yeah, also when I'm painting, I'm kind of following some of the texture lines. I don't want to kind of paint over all the texture that I worked hard to put in. Kind of just want to follow it. The goal is to just kind of enhance it. Enhance all those creases, enhance all those wrinkles.
said, "So y'all ready for the Snyder Cut?"
Ooh, the Snyder Cut.
We're about to talk for 5 hours.
Yeah, that's a conversation I can go forever on. I didn't even know it was real until they announced it. I heard rumors about there being a version of Zack Snyder's film that existed, but it just didn't really seem possible for, like, the idea that they rewrote an entire movie just seemed so far-fetched. But the fact that now that it's coming out and you realize that they filmed a whole movie, and when Zack Snyder was dropped from the project, or when he left and they never brought him back, they replaced him, that they completely rewrote his entire script and refilmed all his shots. Like, it was insane. But I'm so excited for that. I'm mostly excited to see a fit version of Batman where he doesn't look chubby in his bat cowl with his cheeks popping through. I'm excited to see, well, hoping to see a better version of Barry Allen. I don't know how he's written in this story, but I wasn't a fan of him in the last Justice League, in the Whedon cut. But yeah, the suits are still garbage, but if the story's good, I'm all for it. Yeah, there's nothing he can do about the costumes. In my opinion, when I first saw them, I think it was like the first trailer. There's this one shot of them, like where Superman went crazy, and they were like at the bottom of the stairs, like looking at him, and they were all just lined up. I was like, I've never seen such a horrible lineup of characters in one shot.
Damn.
Of horrible costumes in one shot. Yeah, and I'm not one to throw shade at costume designers and, you know, shops like that, because I know every shop is given a certain amount of money and a certain amount of time to get these suits out the door. But come on, like that's horrendous. That's like a Netflix quality suit. And even then, I still feel like Netflix would do something more professional. Alright. So that's kind of a general idea of how I start basing him out. I'm just enhancing all his wrinkles while also adding some veins. You can see like there's like some little veins that flow through his face. That way it's not so it breaks it down a little bit. It breaks down the skin texture. You're not just getting one color laying over another color, and it looks kind of boring. This really helps break down the skin tones.
Oh, and speaking of the Snyder Cut, Brandon hasn't even seen the Whedon Cut.
You haven't seen the Whedon cut?
He said, I never got into Justice League. It wasn't because I didn't want to, it just never happened. But this new cut has me super interested, but Brandon recommends I should suffer with the Whedon cut first.
I mean,
I told him it would only make the Snyder Cut better for him.
yeah, I mean, I don't know how well the Snyder Cut is going to be. Like, I still have my doubts just for the sake of, I don't really believe in DC right now. I don't really trust what they're doing with everything. I think the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix was a step forward in the right direction, but I'm just not sure. It was a really bad story, and if it was anything, if the Whedon cut is anything mirrored to the Snyder cut, I just don't know. Maybe I know it's completely different, and I know he's adding on to the script, but I don't know how much better it's going to be, and that's what I'm worried about. But definitely watch the Sweden cut. You'll definitely appreciate the Snyder cut way more.
And he said, by the way, that paint job is looking solid AF.
Ooh, it's definitely getting there. I still got a long way to go. But I'm gonna try to see if I can get some more people to see that I'm live right now.
And even if he doesn't watch the Whedon cut first, he should watch it after, because then it's either the Whedon cut makes the Snyder cut better, or the Snyder cut will make the Whedon cut look even more stupid.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just recommend he watch the Whedon cut after. Because then he'll just be laughing the whole time. And it might make it enjoyable for him.
Yeah, man. I really hope it's gonna be good. I mean, there's so much hype behind it now. Like, I don't even know if it's gonna live up to people's expectations at this point.
I think there's so much pressure on Zack at this point that he has to make it the best movie.
Yeah, I mean,
Because there's no way he can't deliver after all that campaigning everybody went through.
he wouldn't be doing this if he wasn't confident.
Exactly.
You know, it's very ballsy of him to wanna bring out his original story. I'm sure he feels very confident that his story is 10 times better than Whedon's, which anything should be 10 times better than Whedon's cut. It was garbage. It was terrible. I think, and it was funny because when I went to theaters to watch it, my expectations for it were so low. Like, so low. Like, obviously I watched it because Batman's in it. Batman's my favorite superhero. But,
That is the right answer.
after watching it, I was like, oh, that wasn't that bad. But then I was like, but my expectations were for it to be complete garbage. So, was it better than complete garbage? A little bit. And that was my first experience watching it. And I think I only watched it once. It was just one of those stories. Like, even whether Batman's in it or not, it was one of those stories where, you know, you watch it once, you realize, oh, that was okay, and then it just filters through your mind and you never go back to it because it was so irrelevant and so boring.
Yeah, and I felt the same way when I first watched it. I was like, yeah, it entertained me, but I felt the same way about Suicide Squad. Look at how I talk about that now. Like, and plus we've aged over time and we can look back and see how oblivious and stupid we were.
It's funny because, like, I hated Batman vs. Superman the first time I watched it. I thought it was terrible. But after watching it probably like 6 times, I realized there was a lot more into it was more story driven. And I feel like it was very focused on setting up the Justice League, obviously. The whole Martha thing was obviously ridiculous until, you know, Zack Snyder explains the whole point of why the name Martha was enough to trigger Superman into not turning Superman into a kebab. But even though it was justified, it still was a little goofy. But I feel like I enjoyed the movie a lot more after watching it a few times. But when it comes to like Suicide Squad and Justice League, I think it like had the opposite effect, where I somewhat enjoyed it the first time watching it, and then afterwards I just completely despised it. terrified.
He said that movie pisses me off to no end. I'm assuming Suicide Squad. I don't think he's talking about Never Superman.
Yeah, Suicide Squad was terrible. It was so awkward how they were trying to work so hard to create this team of supervillain, like SWAT team. Like they were trying to build this whole superhero team or supervillain team in case of a threat the size of Superman. Yet they had some chick with a hammer, or she didn't have a hammer in this movie. She had a baseball bat. A guy that didn't want to use his powers. Another guy that's just has a horrible skin condition. And then some witch. Or no, the witch wasn't a part of the Suicide Squad. She was a random antagonist that coincidentally came up as soon as they finish assembling the team.
Honestly.
It's not like the chaos happened and they're like, we need a team. They were like, Superman could have killed I mean, how do I try to explain this? They were trying to find a team that could take on someone at the level of Superman, and instead of looking for metahumans, they found a mixture of both. And then, as coincidentally, as soon as they put the team together, some massive, high-level threat came into play, and it was just bullshit. It's like it was literal bullshit.
But that movie also suffered the same fate as the Snyder Cut, where the director got like his movies on the cutting room floor, and there's nothing he could do about it because the Warner Brothers executives are the Warner Brothers executives.
Yeah, that sucks when a director has a vision for something and the studio comes in and tampers with that. In that case, you can't really blame the director,
But those who campaigned for the Snyder Cut are also campaigning for his kind of Suicide Squad, so.
Alright, so I think I added enough green for now. Now I'm going to move on to the next layer.
And he said Amazing Spider-Man 2 was under the same thing.
Amazing Spider-Man 2 was terrible.
Exactly.
It was awful. I actually enjoyed the Amazing Spider-Man, the first one.
Oh my god. Absolutely.
I thought it was really cool to go with a more darker version of Spider-Man. But yeah, once the Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out, it was so polar opposite of the film before it that it was almost pathetic how much they changed for the sake of pleasing the audience. Like it went from dark, gritty, really cool, very suspenseful as far as the death of Peter's parents and Martha. But the next film, everybody had something to say about it. So when the next film came, it was super light, super jokey. I mean, other than the end when Gwen gets her neck snapped in half. But it was too dumb. The suit, I know a lot of people love the suit. In my opinion, I think it's too cheap.
And it looks like it was trying too hard to be a Sam Raimi suit.
Yeah, it was, and like the Sam Raimi suit, it had lots of layers to it. Not only did it have like the 3D webbing pattern on it, but beneath it, the fabric didn't look one-dimensional or two-dimensional. It looked almost like three-dimensional. Like it almost looked like there was another layer of like mesh under it, which it just gave this illusion of, it didn't look like shiny fabric. But with the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit, the undersuit was very shiny. It had a pattern to it. It definitely had a printed pattern to it. but it was so subtle. It made it look cheap. It made it look like a costume. The webbing was very eh. I really enjoyed the Amazing Spider-Man suit. It was very bold and unique the way they went. They went with making it. It was very homemade-ish. You know, he had his own little printing press in his room, and he was stenciling out all his fabrics, which was awesome. He used sunglasses as the lens for Spider-Man, which is super unique and cool. But yeah, once they went the opposite direction, it was just kind of pathetic. It was almost like a sellout.
Yeah, he said, for as a 13-year-old, I was pissed that they changed the suit. The whole movie is a mess, and just like Suicide Squad, the executives just got in the way. It was way too cartoony, and it's literally a copy of Raimi. Bro, I could talk hours on hating the suit. All caps, I hate the suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you pretty much summed it up for everybody in the room.
He had almost like a fly eye.
Yeah.
Like his eyes looked like, yeah, they looked like flies. Like he had just big old bug eyes, which obviously he is a bug. But yeah, I wasn't a huge fan. It was really goofy. And if they do bring him back into the Spider-Verse film, which is rumored for Spider-Man 3 with Tom Holland, I really, really hope that they don't go with that suit. But I have a huge feeling they will. I mean, it seemed like it got a lot of great feedback from the fans. But that would really suck if they decided to go with that goofy suit, because not only does it look too similar to Sam Raimi's suit, it almost has like, obviously it looks similar because it's freaking Spider-Man, but it just looks, it looks like a copycat. It's not original. Like at least Tom Holland's suit has its own story behind it. You know, it's Stark technology. It's not just like a fabric suit. Like that makes it more interesting and it makes it more unique. But we'll see if that even becomes a thing. Sorry, I know I'm taking a while right now. I'm just cleaning out my airbrush. Because it is cold in here, the paint is getting really thick and it's getting a little difficult, a little bit too difficult to clean out my brush. And all right. How many minutes are we at?
We are at. Doesn't say how many minutes. Well, it's 7:58, so it's been an hour.
All right, it's been an hour.
Well,
Me.
Maybe a little bit less because we were a little late.
Yeah, I was like 4 minutes late. I think I might just go till I finish it. I don't think it's gonna take me as long as I originally assumed. So I might just go for it.
Oh, and something Brendan said earlier about the paint.
Mhm.
When he said it was good and you said, it's getting there, he said, no, bro, that stuff's fire. Because he said, Rob subtly, in quotations, it's definitely getting there, close quotation, bruh, no, that stuff is fire.
Thanks, Brandon. Oh yeah. Alright, so now this layer, I'm adding... So the next layer is going to be a shade of flesh tone. Or it's actually, it's like flesh, but I think it's more sand. It's like, yes, it is sand. But it's a transparent color, and the reason I chose transparent is because it allows you to layer on top of other colors you originally laid down without covering it all. Because instead of trying to base it out and then add a thicker layer over that and then a slightly thinner layer over that and then finally add all the fine details, you can kind of reverse it in the way where you can add all of those fine details first and then almost add a layer of kind of skin over it, which helps with the illusion of it being like legitimate flesh. So I'm gonna go first with a light layer of beige. He's gonna have a few coats of this. I'm also gonna add a few more details before I put the final layer on. What's it? Oh, it's because it's vibrating. It just wants to shoot out.
About to get in the shot. Yeah, everything's just sliding. Put that stuff on this table.
Right now I'm going in like little circles. I don't want to give any like streak lines because it's just gonna look really bad. So I'm trying to evenly go over all of it.
About the Spider-Man, Brendan said, yeah, they're not going to go back to the first suit, sadly. Anyway, the Frank is looking fire. I'm excited to see more of the main suit.
Yeah, they're definitely not going to go back to the original suit. Like I said, I think the first suit got too much positive feedback. But, yeah, man, I'm hoping to get it done within the hour. But, we might have to wait and see. I'm definitely going to try to get as far as I can. And if I have to go a little bit over, I will go a little bit over.
Brendan said, oh dang, I never thought of going in circles. See, this is why I'm going to be a good boy and listen.
Yeah, I try not to hammer it too much on one spot, especially if I'm doing a full layer, because then it's gonna look very saturated on one side and very subtle on another side. It's almost like sketching. You know, when you do a sketch, you kind of use the side of the pencil and you kind of go in like little circles to get a nice even blend. That's kind of what I'm doing. Yeah, definitely my paintbrush is acting up right now. But like I said, it's a really old paintbrush or airbrush. We'll make do with what it is. Come on. Sometimes there's a very simple solution to when the paint is too thick, especially if you're using acrylic paint. All you really have to do is add a little bit of agüita Give it a little mix in the brush if it's clogging up. And it should help push the paint through a little bit easier. Yeah, because right.
What grit do you want me to sand the bottoms of these with to get the lip on?
The medium purple.
Just put it flat on the table and do it like that.
Uh-huh. You guys were wondering what the heck I was doing right now. Just blowing, trying to put more pressure into the paint to kind of push it through. Yeah, he's really being a butt right now. And of course, this has to happen while I'm going live. So I can't freak out. Sadly. I would love to freak out right now. Break everything, break my airbrush, break my Frankenstein.
He said, "Don't worry about the airbrush messing up. It's great in here."
Yeah, definitely the next live stream if I decide to paint. I'm just gonna go and buy a new one. But I think what's really missing is just I need to get a new needle. So each airbrush has like a little needle that filters through, and when the paint kind of gravity feeds down, it drips off of the little needle, and there's a little hole at the bottom here that filters all the air. So the air gets pushed in through here. So while the paint is being fed down, it's pushing the paint. So if the paint clogs, all it's shooting out is air. And if for some reason the air doesn't work, obviously the paint is just going to be leaking. Are you working now? Now you want to work? After 40 hours. This is great. I'm so happy everything's getting clogged up right now. Oh, there we go. This is what I'm looking for.
And he said, "Rob, have you seen Rob Zombie's Halloween? Is it time to tell Brandon you're not big into the Michael Myers fan base like the rest of us?"
Yeah, I'm not a huge Michael Myers fan. I did watch the most recent Halloween movie, but Brandon has really been kind of coaching me on all that stuff. But no, I haven't seen any of the Rob Zombie stuff.
You're not missing much.
Yeah, Brandon keeps telling me it's terrible.
I mean, it's not true that I've been saying that, but it's true that it is.
You have been saying that.
Not completely. Like, there's things to like about it, just not
Like the
movie.
mask.
He commented unsubscribed. I'm dead. And he hasn't even heard what I just said yet.
There's things to like about it, just not the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think there's a right and a wrong way to remake something. And I think respecting the source material is the first step, and I don't think he did it to the caliber he should have. But whatever, that's like Rob Zombie. It's like I'm edgy, and if you don't like it, that just makes me even more different. Air quotations.
Different as in not
Different
good
as
like
in
the rest
people
of them.
don't like you.
Yeah. Well, I've never watched it, so I can't judge. Frankie's getting there.
He said, I mean, I can whine back to you all day on my views, but let's be honest, no one gives a crap. Ain't that the truth? JK, I know you beat. Said, Rob, what color do you start on for the hair? And I say, keep watching the live stream and find out.
The color for the hair. So it's kind of, the hair is kind of a tricky thing because you can easily just paint it black and expect it to come out looking like hair, because black hair is really tricky because it's it keeps vibrating off. Black hair is very tricky because it has a nice sheen to it, but if you use gloss black paint, it makes it look almost ridiculous. So I like to use a somewhat deep black that has a little sheen to it, or like a decent amount of sheen, more sheen that you would want after you apply it, so that when the sculpture's finished and I'm ready to seal it with a matte clear, the matte clear dulls out the sheen without making it completely matte. So you get this almost perfect semi-gloss, which if you try to use semi-gloss, it's, for some reason, it still doesn't get that same effect. So that's the technique I used to like to use, especially with Frankenstein, with his rich black hair, is just using a very shiny paint and then going over it with a matte clear to give it its final look. Because you want to take into consideration when you're ready to clear it what the colors are going to look like. You can't just kind of paint however you want and expect it to come out the like flesh tone. That's why a lot of like these paints I'm using have this sheen to them. They're not very matte, but when I add the matte to it, it gives it that fleshy tone where it's not semi-gloss, or it kind of looks a little like sweat. Like our skin is very oily, it's very moist, so trying to make something look like that without overdoing it or without underdoing it is the tricky part. And it's kind of all in your paints. Like if you have a bunch of paints that dry up looking very matte, you can go in and add like a little gloss tinter. It's like a little bottle of like gloss clear, and you kind of just add that into your paint and mix it up until you have like the right sheen to it. And then you can also do like tests. So you grab the paint, you brush it on something, you let it dry, then you go over it with a matte clear. And if the finished look is exactly what you want it to be like, that's great. Or if it's a little too glossy, if it's still a little too glossy, you just dial back on the gloss the next time you mix up a batch. Or if it's too matte, you just add a little bit more gloss to fix for the next batch. So I think that's it for his somewhat base layer. And now I'm just gonna go in with a couple. I'm gonna go in with a couple purples and blues to give it a very kind of fleshy look. I'm gonna add in some veins and highlight some certain areas, like the ears, like especially where there's the least amount of blood in your face is where it gets the coldest. That's why when it's really cold outside, your nose is really pink. Your ears get really pink. And you, like, also when light hits through like thin areas like this, you kind of get this little like translucent pink through it, which is, it's just highlighting your blood vessels that are inside your ear. So sometimes you want to kind of highlight those little areas with little pinks and blemishes to kind of give that illusion, even if it is like a solid resin piece. Obviously that illusion can come when casting up a piece like this. Like you can cast like a Frankenstein head out of maybe like a clear pink and then layer over that, so when light hits it, it's affected like a human ear would be affected by light, and you can kind of see the translucency through it, all the little veins through it, and it gives like a very nice illusion to it. But I feel like that might be a little advanced. So I would say, like, starting off with, for people that are starting off with airbrush, just kind of, you know, take it slow. Use the paints to your advantage. You don't have to try to mix around with clears yet until you kind of get a flow of how to use a paintbrush. But then when you got an idea, using clear castings and painting with those, it's amazing because it has so much more of a realistic look to them. Because obviously our skin isn't solid, you know. You shine light through it, you can see. For example, here, you know, you shine light through my finger, it turns red, and you can see right through my finger. And using clear resins for your sculptures, it can allow you to achieve like effects like this, which is really cool. Especially when people are going to events and shows and seeing your stuff up in person, it makes everything look that much more real.
I just went to the Instagram questions,
Mhm.
just to see if anyone asked. And sure enough, Brandon asked.
Of course.
And he said, anything you absolutely dread while sculpting?
It's hard to say what I hate about sculpting. I guess the better term to use would be, what do I dislike? What do I like the least about sculpting? And I would say is messing up too far along into the project. That is like the most gut-wrenching feeling when you know if you would have fixed it from the start, you wouldn't be having that issue. Like, for example, my Godzilla. Kind of just going for it without really taking the precautions. It was dangerous, and once I got months into the sculpture, once I was months invested into the sculpture, and I see those flaws and I see those things I should have changed, and I realize how much of an impact they made as far as not making my sculpture look the way I intended. It's a terrible feeling, and I hate that feeling, is going back and refixing. But it's a part of the process. Like, nothing's ever gonna come out in one shot, unless you're just always completely satisfied with what you're doing. Then, you know, you might just start something and finish it the same day and not ever think about, you know, going back and adjusting anything, which is cool because that it makes you feel more free when sculpting, not worrying about too much of, you know, making it perfect. But I get a little I become a little perfectionist with my stuff because, especially when you're investing months into something, it's a horrible feeling to be unhappy, to look at something and be like, if I gave it a couple more months, it would be perfect. You know, that's why I just, I invest those extra days, those extra weeks, and maybe even extra months. If that's what it's going to take for it to look exactly what I want it to look like, great. I'll go for it. So right now I'm mixing a little bit of, a little bit of blue and a little bit of red. And I'm trying to make this almost like dry blood color. And I'm going to be using that too. Because blood is a mixture of, like the color of blood is somewhat a mixture of blue and red. Because obviously, or if what I learned in anatomy classes, blood's original color is blue until it reaches oxygen, and once it reaches oxygen, it turns red. That's a myth. Is it? I don't know. Anyways, and then you also have like you have another form of blood. I forgot what it's called. It's like clear. But anyways, blood has a tint of somewhat of red and blue. So mixing up that color, you get something kind of like this. And that's what I kind of use to add in some of these veins. I'm going to add some veins all over the place. Before I put my final layer on it, I want to make sure that I add all the in-between stuff, because if I add the final layer and I try to add veins over that, it's going to be very obvious. It's gonna take away from the illusion of it being, under his skin. Like when you look at your veins, or someone that has like a veiny hands, you see like the purple lines, the purple veins. It's not very harsh. It's very subtle. So I like to kind of paint my lines before I finish layering it up. So just like in your skin, it gives that illusion of subtleness. And when painting very fine lines, I lower the pressure of the air. I kind of test a little bit to make sure it's going to be okay. It takes a while. Eventually I'm just going to acetone all this off. It's not like I'm going to leave it on his hair and paint over it, because then it's going to be all chunky. But like you see right here, I have this nice thick vein that's just coming up onto his neck muscle. It's like wrapping over his neck muscle. I'm just going to give it a nice little highlight, and I just dropped my phone. And you just want to be very careful, 'cause it's really easy to overdo it. You see? And then you also have veins in your ear. And they're a lot more noticeable in your ear because when light passes through it.
You dropped your phone, you dropped your phone, you dropped your phone. And I didn't know you dropped anything until I heard you say it in the live stream. He said, yeah, man, I'm digging the skin and blood explanation. Okay, Charlie Manson.
Yeah, if my airbrush was a little bit more refined, obviously the needle is kind of jacked up and it's been used over 100 times. This would be a lot easier of a paint job. But I'm just gonna work with it. So like areas like here, where it's very like, so when your skin gets damaged and it tries to repair itself, it becomes very like bright. It's almost like a purplish red. So like in areas like this, I kind of just add those little highlights. It's not very harsh. It's not to represent blood. It's just the skin trying to repair itself. It gets very reddish. Even though it's a little harsh right now, when I go over it again, it's gonna dull out. And that's the whole goal, is just to add what I need to add now. So when I go over my last layer, it helps kind of soften everything and blend everything in really nicely. I hate this airbrush so very much.
Go back to Instagram questions. I don't think there was too many this time because Brandon just joined the chat from the jump and I didn't have a second to post it on the story yet. There's one other question. It says, what's your least favorite thing about the original Halloween? Which I don't think you've seen.
My least favorite thing about the original Halloween is the fact that I've never seen it.
And I don't know what my least favorite thing is. It was pretty solid. I don't know. I liked it. Brandon would say that there's flaws in it because it's not like Rob Zombie's. Okay, we'll say blood. There was no blood in it. It was very old school. Couldn't show anything too graphic.
I thought they cared less about all that stuff back in the day.
What's up?
I thought back in the day they cared less about graphic stuff.
Well,
It seems like people are more offended nowadays.
you know what? I kind of take that back because Texas Chainsaw came out first and it was pretty bloody. And The Thing with Kurt Russell, that was only a couple years later. It was in the 80s, I believe. So I don't know. I think that was just maybe what John Carpenter wanted to go with Michael Myers, was just show how scary subtleness could be, I guess. Holding back is what made him scary. I don't know. I'm not John Carpenter, and I'll probably never get the chance to ask him.
And what about The Exorcist? When was that made?
70s? 60s? 70s? No, because she's old.
Because that was very graphic.
I need to look that up. He said, Brandon, shut up. Because he'd say there's so many things wrong with it because it's not Rob Zombie. He said, shut up. Let me see. Exorcist. 1973. So it was 5 years before Halloween.
Yeah, that was a very graphic.
Yeah.
Very, very graphic. But I loved it. See, adding that little pink at the end of his ear kind of adds that little illusion. Illusions. Blasphemy. No, don't you go crazy on me. Damn paintbrush. I promise you guys, the next live stream, I'm gonna get a better paintbrush. And then I'm just gonna fly through this sculpture. Hopefully I'll finish it next time. I really don't think I'll be able to get to it. I won't really finalize it, but I will try to get the eyes and hair in, just so you guys get an idea of what it looks like, all said and done. Here, also give him a little nice pink nose. Not too much. You don't want him to look like Rudolph. But enough where it's like kind of subtle. Kind of cute. You know what I mean? Very fleshy. There's different areas you'd like to add it into, like his lips. But very subtle. Don't overdo it. Unless you want him to look like a fairy. He's gonna look like Tinkerbell. With cherry red lips and blush on his cheek. Ah, damn. That's what happens when it gets clogged up and shoots out. There we go. It's fixable. And then sometimes when it gets a little clogged, I shoot up the air pressure and then just let it go. And it kind of just shoots out anything that's clogging it up. Bring it back down. I can go back to very refined detail. I hope you guys can still hear me though, because the microphone is up here. So obviously I don't want to bring it all the way down to my mouth and talk like this. So I kind of have it above my head, but my mouth is looking down here. So I hope you guys can hear me. Whoa, 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 crazy, crazy. I hate when the airbrush does that. If you guys want to see a really good one finished and painted properly, go to my Instagram. And I think I've posted this a million times. I mean, if you're here, it's because you've been seeing my stories. That's what this Frankenstein is intended to look like when it's done. Not like this monster that is about to come about. I like adding veins or wrinkles come down his. Yeah, veins. What am I talking about? Oh no! I hope I don't fall. Did my camera die? Brendan!
It's still going on my end.
Yeah, because it's delayed. Give me the charger. Oh, damn it. Sorry guys. The camera just died.
Yeah, it says exchange battery. It just came up right now, so you're good. Well,
It's gonna be off as long as I was off. And we're back.
now we're back.
It's okay.
As soon as you put the battery back in was as soon as it ended on the live stream, so I had no way of knowing because I can still hear it.
It's just something always has to go wrong.
I know, I was going to say we went through majority of this time without that shit happening.
Yeah. It's because my camera is connected to my laptop right now through the USB cable. So I was like, oh, it's probably charging through that. I guess not. I needed the actual charger. So I have to have... So it's like double penetrated right now, my camera. There we go, there we go, there we go. Nice and fine. So yeah, as you guys can see, my technique as far as adding veins is kind of starting from the top, really getting, you know, a comfortable feel of how thin it's gonna come out, and then I just let it drag all the way down to the bottom.
It's funny because you're painting the scar, and then you can see the scar on the back of your hand in the shot, so it's like reference.
Reference.
We cut our hands so we have references.
Come on. And that's what happens when your brush sucks. If anything could have happened at any point, and it could have messed up at any point, it had to be right here. I'm gonna keep going. It should be fine. Just don't look at it and it doesn't exist.
But when the screen cut to black for Brandon, he said it's darker than my soul down here, and that ain't easy to do.
Yeah.
And then he commented to me saying we cut our hands for references, and he said, damn, that's metal AF. Mucho metal.
Oh, hi there. I didn't realize who was commenting right now. Thank you for joining the live stream. I appreciate the love. Yeah, right now I'm half-assing a Frankenstein sculpture to try to get it done within the next hour.
It's 8:37.
Still,
You're gonna push it out to 10?
yeah, why not?
Alright. I'm down.
I got nothing better to do.
She said that's really cool.
I'm trying. Right now it's a little bit of a mess.
It'll get there.
That's 100% due to Brandon's fault. And 95% Brandon's fault, 5% my fault,
100% lies.
100% truth. Why do you love doing this to me, huh? You just like making my life miserable. There we go. Second time the camera shut off. I'll get better at this. I'll get better at live streaming. It's kind of a process trying to juggle dealing with things like this that happen last minute, such as the needle getting bent on my airbrush, and just, yeah, I mean, oh well. We'll do with what we have. Next live stream, I'm going to get back to Godzilla. Like I said, I'm going to be doing this every other Friday. So just put it on your calendar. I'm always going to be live streaming around 7. It just seems like the most appropriate time. Everybody's done with everything that they got going on throughout the day.
Yeah, everybody gets home from work and just winds down.
Yeah, this is a nice way to wind down. This is how I wind down from my day of sculpting and working on my stuff, so I'm just gonna keep it consistent like this. What if I up the pressure? It'll stop being such a dick. Nope, what's wrong with you? No, don't do that. Don't do that. Bum, ba, bum. Please stay tuned to the end of this so you don't think that I don't know how to paint. Trust me. You'll see how it comes together at the end. fear.
And Brandon said, I can't wait for my airbrush to shoot out paint all over my masks.
Oh, dude, it's fantastic. It's like
It's a dream come true.
it's a dream come true. Like, I look forward every day to my paint shooting out onto my sculpture. Having to spend $30 on a needle for your airbrush, which, if you didn't know, that's how much it costs to replace this needle. This one that starts here and threads through all the way to the tip. That little needle costs $30. And I guarantee it doesn't cost $30 to make it. It probably costs like 2 pennies, 2 cents to mass produce to those little kids in China. Ooh, is that Ellie and Tati watching? My little cousins. Hi guys, how you doing? I'm gonna see you guys tomorrow. I'm excited. I hope you guys enjoy this mess of a live stream. Look, he has purple hair now. Don't worry, this will be over soon.
Coronavirus. Daniel Hernandez commented in all caps, "Let's go, baby."
What up, Daniel? What up, baby? How you doing? Glad you decided to show up. Oh yeah. Now we're getting into it. Now we're getting into it.
He said, "Get that bread, my man."
I'm trying. I'm definitely trying to get that bread.
It's harder than it looks.
It's harder than it looks. Alright, I'm gonna call it. No, I'm not gonna call it. I'm just gonna keep going. Sometimes I want to just stop on a layer and just move on to the next one. But I would hate to be like, man, it would look so much better if I would have just added a little bit right there. That's always the case. So I'm just going to go until I feel 100% confident that I'm not going to come back to this color. And I might. Who knows? You know? I like how I have a turntable and I'm just moving him like this.
Oh, Brandon's got to get going. Time to say goodbye.
Goodbye, Brandon. I love you, man. You make this so much more fun to watch.
Yeah, now that we committed to doing 1 more hour, now it's just gonna be silence.
Yeah, screw it. Let's talk about stuff.
He said it was super fun, just like last time. Thanks for having me. Thanks for
Yeah, dude,
showing
it's
up,
fun.
my guy.
I'll see you next Friday, or the following Friday. Alright, so he has a general base. Now, I'm going to start going in with some other colors. I would go crazy with this guy, add different shades of veins. I mean, I could add red, I can add a little bit of a darker blue, I could add some green veins in there, but I think just to get the basic point across, I'm just going to stop here. And I'm going to start adding the last layer of skin tone, and then I'm going to start shading in.
Brandon said I'll message you later tonight to see how Frank turned out.
Yeah, man, I'll post it on my story. That way everyone can see how it turned out. For those that came to watch,
And I'll be posting
very
it too,
much appreciated.
on all my stuff.
I see 16 people are playing it back. 4 people are
Currently in it.
currently linked up with my time.
And Daniel said, "When can I come sleep over though?" Tonight. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm glad you enjoyed the live stream, my boy. For those of you watching, if you want to chime in, add a little comment, add a little statement, add a little question, by all means. I love to answer.
Let's go back to Instagram, just double check.
Let's go back to Instagram. Hmm? Right now I'm cleaning out my airbrush, for those of you that are wondering. Every time you add a new layer of paint, you kind of just got to flush out the first color. Otherwise, you're just going to have a big mess. I'm definitely going to paint the hair by the end of it. I feel like it's going to look really retarded. That's not the proper term. It's going to look really dumb if I just leave it as is. So don't worry, I'll get to the hair part by the end of it. It should be quick. I don't know if I have enough paint for the hair, but I can definitely get, you know, that part in.
And Brandon just hit me up in the DMs and said he's trying to get more people to watch. Hopefully it works.
Oh man, I just appreciate whoever watches. I don't really care how much. Just live streaming right now is just fun, especially having people like you, Brandon, that just comes in and wants to interact. Like, that's what all this is about, is just finding a time of the week where I can interact with people, talk about cool stuff like this, and I don't have to focus too much on editing and trying to make the camera shot look good and trying to pretend like everything comes out flawless. Like, this is just a raw presentation of what I do. Sculpting Godzilla was super fun because I could just sculpt freely. I didn't have to try to make it look good or try to rush to finish it, because obviously that sculpture is going to take another month or two to really get done. You know, it's just fun to be able to just go at your own will and have some time to just chat with people that also are interested and appreciate the things I do. And painting Frankenstein today has been probably way funner than Godzilla, no matter how many people decide to tune in to watch. Alright, now that I got my little bit of beige mixed in here, I'm going to go through with one final layer. And you see the red, even though it's still very visible, once you add that little bit of beige in there, it kind of softens it out. And it looks like it's behind, you know, a layer of skin. Or whatever.
There was no new Instagram questions, so if we want to talk about something, we can talk about future projects.
Yeah, let's talk about the future of this channel. The future of what I'm trying to accomplish. I just want a platform where I can just have fun, create the things I want to create, and have people enjoy them. I think freelance work is awesome. I think people that do freelance work are very talented to have that capability of dealing with clients, but I'm not very interested in creating something that's not of my vision. Sometimes, you know, people want a certain thing and they want it to look a specific way, and they really don't have any artistic, you know, background, and it kind of derails you from what you would believe would look far better. And it's just that back and forth that I'm not really interested in dealing with. So to be able to have a platform where I can just work on my art, and just whoever likes it can come and watch, whoever likes it can come support, that's great. That's what I'm really striving for. As far as what's to come, there's a lot of things that are to come within the next week. Future projects such as I wanted to work on a life-size dinosaur. Um, I know Jurassic Park is in the works, and I thought it would be kind of cool to kind of stay relevant with that film. And Jurassic Park has been one of my favorite. It's my second favorite movie, second to Star Wars, and considering all the buzz that's going on about Jurassic Park right now, I thought it would be like very appropriate to, you know, start a new project surrounding, you know, a dinosaur, and at the end, you know, make it into a cinematic, just like how I did the Scavenger. I think that would be great. Instead of using costume, you know, using a prop instead. You know, I don't know how I'm gonna make it still. It's kind of up in the works. I don't know when I'm going to finish it. I don't know. I don't really know any of that right now. It's kind of just an idea, but it's a definite one that I'm going to come back to when the time's right. As far as the Scavenger, the Vader project is in the works. That project is going to tie into the Scavenger, but it's just going to take time to really get everything in order. I need to outsource for a big old sheet of leather in order to make the fabric. I'm going to stitch all the fabric from scratch. Right now the helmet is getting prepped. I didn't really think it would be fun to make a whole video surrounding me sanding. Well, it's me and Brandon working on it, sanding the helmet down, because it's an original casting of the helmet, but it's really rough because it's so old. So it's taking a lot of time going back in and kind of planing all the harsh surfaces down. And that's, like I said, that's so boring. I don't want to create a video right now about any of that. So I'm waiting till that's done so we can start on the Vader project. It's going to be a lot of fabrication, a lot of painting. I'm really looking forward to that one. Other than the Vader project and the Jurassic Park dinosaur project, I'm not going to give away too much of what the dinosaur is. I feel like I'll wait, because it's on top of me not wanting to spoil too much. It's still in the works as far as I'm caught between two characters, two dinosaurs, and I don't really know which one to pick. And I'm afraid of picking the wrong one because it might not come off great cinematically, or it might be a little bit more than I bargained for. I don't want to bite off more than I can chew, and I don't want to spend more than 2 months per the making of series, just because I have a lot of other things I want to work on. So I just got to be realistic about what I'm going to do with that. It's definitely going to be a closer to my size type of dinosaur. It's not like I'm going to sculpt a T-Rex head or a Brachiosaurus head. That's going to take me months and months to get that done, especially being a one-man army when it comes to sculpting. That's going to be tough to try to finish. So whatever projects come, I'm going to try to be realistic and try to get them done within a month or two. That way I'm not like dragging people on for like a year to see one project done. I find that very boring, and it just becomes so repetitive. I just want to keep a flow going. So yeah, I'm just gonna be having something new every month or every 2 months.
Yeah, I got a couple questions. What did you enjoy working on more, Godzilla or Frankenstein so far? Because I mean, you're still working on Godzilla. But
So far,
so far, who have you enjoyed working on more?
as far as which one I've enjoyed working on more between Godzilla and Frankenstein, I mean, I feel like it's an obvious choice for me because right now I'm I'm loathing the Godzilla project, um, just because it's my second version of it and I've spent already 3 months on it. So I'm not.
On the first one.
Yeah, on the first one. So now that I'm retracing my steps, it's become a mission to get it done rather than a passion to get it done. And with Frankenstein, it was very smooth. He took me around 4 months to finish just the head, but I was also commuting from LA 4 hours a day. So however many hours I put in a day was close to maybe 3 to 4. So within the time span of 2 months, I didn't really spend much time on it. It was kind of a project that came and went. And it came and went very smoothly, which I really enjoyed. And then having the final product, there wasn't really anything I wish I would have fixed. So it's nice to kind of sculpt something in a very orderly fashion and it come out exactly the way you hoped it did. So Frankenstein 100% was far more enjoyable. Now, as far as which one I'm going to be more satisfied with when completed is definitely Godzilla. I feel like the challenge makes it more competitive for me, because rather than trying to finish something for the sake of just finishing it, I'm finishing it for a purpose. I've given myself a time limit to get it done by the end of March. Like I said, I don't want to spend more than 2 months on a project. So this one is the Godzilla is kind of a different level of enjoyment. It's it's a mission now, but Frankenstein was a lot more. It was a smoother project to work on. So I definitely did enjoy Frankenstein, but I am enjoying the process of trying to finish Godzilla.
Yeah, and Frankenstein only got stressful when Monsterpalooza was coming around the corner.
Yeah, I think the most stressful part of Frankenstein was when I was finishing the base of pretty much his body for the statue, because I had to get it done. I think it took me 2 days. It was like a weekend I spent sculpting it, because I wanted it to be done before the Monsterpalooza show. So I had to sculpt it in 2 days, or I had to sculpt it in 2.5 days, and mold it the night before Monsterpalooza. And it was a terrible mold because I molded it at home and I don't have a evacuator machine, or at the time I didn't. So it was very bubbly. It had a lot of imperfections, the mold. But I had to pull out a casting just so I would have something for display. And I didn't have it for display until the second day of Monsterpalooza. And what sucked is I wasn't able to sell any, but all that mattered to me was I had something available for people to see, so that when the next event hit, within, I think it's like a gap between 6 to 8 months, there would be something for people to look forward to, come and purchase when they came to my booth. But yeah, it sucked it wasn't available at the time. Right now it's obviously available. I've worked, I've finished a few of them already, which is nice to see a final product. I know I kept getting so picky about the sculpture that it took me a lot longer to finish than I would hope for, because I kept going back and I kept resanding. Like, I molded this head twice because there was a certain area right here that was, the texture of the eye was very cheap, because I just rushed it a little bit. So I went back, I resculpted that. I sculpted in the nostrils because they were a little rough. And then I sent it off to my buddy Nicholas to mold for me. And that mold is the mold I've been using to mass produce them from now on. But the other mold is garbage. I mean, I still have it. For the second iteration, after it was molded the second time, I sanded all this down and made it into a key. So when you have the body and you have the head, it locks on almost perfectly, or it locks on perfectly compared to when I first did it, where it kind of locked on, but it still wasn't where I wanted it to be. Um, but yeah, I'm very much happy with this final product. Now it's just about trying to perfect the paint job for it, which I kind of have, um, a basic idea of how I want it to look, but I definitely want to go into more depth of different designs, different techniques, to really get a feel of what I want it to look like in the end. Yeah, so now I'm going, sorry, now I'm going towards a little bit of shading, which this is the most dangerous part for me, because it's very easy to overshade, and I don't want to make it look too contrasty. I definitely want to keep that subtleness to it. So I'm going to lower the pressure, and I'm going in with a dark green. And I'm really going to try to shadow it without overkill. So like places to shadow is always the lowest points. It's obviously like the lowest points, the valleys of your sculpture. And my brush is clogged again. And my brush is clogged again. Yes, light shades a sculpture on its own, but it can only do so much. You kind of have to go in there and give it a little help. One place I do like the shadow on my Frankenstein is around his hairline. I feel like if you don't, when you add the black, it comes off very, very contrasty, and it looks kind of weird. Adding that dark green, it kind of adds a layer of dimension to it, which I like. And I kind of go really dark the farther back, the higher up it is, and then, the closer it gets to the tip of the hairline, I kind of make it a little bit more softer, a little bit more subtle. And then in the very harsh valleys, I go in a little darker. Yeah, this vein in the middle of his head, I'm not too happy about, but it was the only way I could like patch up that little spot that I just overshot. Just kind of blend it in with the vein. But like I said, this is kind of just a demonstration. Realistically, I don't think if I was trying to make this as perfect as I wanted to, I don't think I could get it done within 2 hours. It would definitely take me a little bit longer. Like I said, every paint job is just like an original art piece. Every time you sell someone a painted sculpture, it's an original piece. It's not like a machine went in and printed it off, or it's not like a little stencil. Like, it's hand painted. All of it's hand painted. And then with the dark green, I'm also going in and adding some little extra lines, enhancing the wrinkles on certain areas. Back here where the ear is, I'm going in just a little bit, not too much. Don't make it too obvious, because like I said, I don't want the black, when the black hair overlaps, I don't want it to look too contrasty. That would be the word. I think I'm at the 2 hour line right now. I'm going to keep going. Like I said, it's going to be a little longer than usual. And that's because I really don't feel comfortable ending this live stream on an unfinished paint job. I can at least get the hair in. So for those of you that want to stay, cool. I really appreciate it. Those of you that have to go, that's cool too. It's Friday night, so I'm just gonna keep going. You know, if it was a Sunday night, I probably would have ended this as soon as the 9 o'clock hit. But screw it. It's a Friday night. No one has to go to work tomorrow. I think the max you can go on a live stream is around 8 hours. But I'm definitely not gonna. I'm definitely not gonna go past 3.
I'm not sure if there's a max time for live streams because remember, like, there's people that do 24-hour live streams, and there's this one rapper I'm subscribed to who did like an 11-hour freestyle or something, just went on for charity or something. So I know Instagram does limit it to like 20 minutes or something ridiculous. Facebook, I'm not sure though.
Eventually, I do want to do like a full day of live streaming.
That'd be crazy.
Make it a chance. Make it, yeah. Make
We'd have to
something
be
interesting.
making a costume though, or you'd have to paint every Frankenstein cast and
Yeah.
assembly line it.
Or I'm not a huge fan of drawing. I mean, that was my first medium I learned of art. But I would definitely be down to do like a 24-hour illustration video. I mean, it usually takes me around 8 hours to get like a basic illustration done. But what I can put in with 24 hours would probably be really, really fun of a project to do. It would have to be just like a very special occasion or something. I wouldn't just do it out of random.
Yeah, because drawing used to be my thing, and then carpal tunnel happened.
Well, I definitely have carpal tunnel.
So I don't know about holding a pencil and drawing for 24 hours.
I'd suck it up. I'll just be gone for a whole weekend.
I'll have to take it to the ER after.
Get my hand amputated.
Your hand's like backwards now.
I'm just trying to get all those dark areas shadowed up. Especially around his eyes too. You want to add that shadow because it gives it a little bit more dimension. See if I like leave it like this, like you see it like this, it just looks very bland. Once you start adding in all those undercuts of shading, it really defines the sculpture a whole lot more. Yeah, it is kind of a challenge to not overdo it, but like I said, this one's gonna be very I'm gonna go pretty, harsh on this sculpture when it comes to the shadows, because he has such a big unibrow that if you were just to go kind of subtle, it doesn't give that effect. Like this looks kind of bland. It almost looks it's not as defined as this one is. It gives it more depth. Because essentially you don't know what lighting your sculpture is going to be presented in. So you kind of have to paint it in a way where you feel comfortable presenting it in broad daylight and it still look very shadowy or if you're gonna put it in a very lit room, you know, where you can see all the imperfections, you still want it to keep that effect. You don't want to lose that effect. Otherwise it looks unfinished. Oops, kick the camera. So we're going to be stopping around 10 o'clock. I think that's going to be my stopping point. So I'm just going to get as far as I can with the shading. I'm not going to be doing any of the other crazy stuff I usually do on the Frankenstein. I'm just going to keep it simple. And then I'm going to add in all the hair and maybe try to get in the eyes. Oh, and then another thing, when considering like jointed pieces, like for example this piece is going to joint to another piece, that other piece has a little lip, you want to account for all that too, so you want to add like extra shading around the edges to really enhance all that. Like I said, you don't want to make everything look too contrast, from like a light color to something like super or dark. So kind of giving that blend in between of kind of like a darkish green, and it switches to black. Like it looks more realistic. Because even if you do, like even in reality, when you have something that's very contrasty, like this is black and my skin is very light, you still have that in-between kind of fuzzy shadow that connects the two of the pieces, so it looks realistic. It's not like this. You know that's like smacked right against my skin, and it doesn't give the illusion of height. But once you add that shadow, it adds that illusion of height. Right here is very, very covered up, and because his neck is kind of hovering over this side, there's a bigger shadow casting right here, so that's what I'm going to try to add in. Oh, another thing, just so everyone knows, tomorrow I am still going to be posting a video. I'm going to try to keep that consistency of posting every Saturday. I think from now on, every time I live stream, I'm going to be posting the following Wednesday rather than exactly the next day. It alleviates the pressure of trying to get 2 videos done by the end of the week, and it kind of breaks it down, so if you guys watch this video, it doesn't immediately jump into the next one. You still have like a little time between that before the next video comes out. But yes, definitely tomorrow I'm going to be posting a video. It's nothing great. I mean, no, it's nothing great. It's nothing as exciting as the making of the Scavenger. It's just kind of a synopsis of the story. I'm just going to do, in simple terms, a reaction to the trailer. I want to break down a lot of things within the trailer that I don't think were very noticeable. Obviously, the trailer is it's left to interpretation, to interpret the scenario of what's going on, who's involved. You know, I just go into a lot more depth of what's going on because this story has a lot to it. That I don't think that can be explained in, you know, a trailer clip. It could be explained in a full-length little feature project, but since that's not going to be in the works for anytime soon, for now, I'm just going to go over the trailer with you. I kind of did it in a dark room to kind of give it a nice little, you know, movie theater vibe, but I feel like it came off a little bit too dark. But anyways, it's a good talk. The video is half an hour long. For those of you wondering, you're probably not wondering, but it is half an hour long. But I do go into discussion of everything involving the Scavenger, future projects towards the Scavenger and all that. I think I mentioned before, I do want to turn it into a feature-length film. In total, it will probably be around 45 minutes. Each it's going to be a 2-part series. Each part is going to be 15 minutes long. And it's obviously going to be non-profit. It's just for fun, just for you guys, just to see. This story has been in my mind since 2018, and I would really love to finally get it out on screen. But yeah, expect a live stream every other Friday. So, not this coming up Friday, but obviously the following Friday is going to be the following live stream. I'm going to be doing another sculpting session with Godzilla. I just feel like I needed a break in between to kind of get him where he needs to be, because obviously I don't want to do another video on him be far behind in progress from where I left off in the last video. I think it would just be kind of awkward. So hopefully I can get him to a good stage by next Friday, and if not, we'll probably do something new. It might just be a live chat, and I might just talk, and might be only be like an hour if that's the case, and I'm unable to get it done by then. But we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing for the majority of it. I know my hand keeps kind of blocking it sometimes, but that's because I'm just trying to keep it really steady and making sure I don't mess it up. Yeah, see, like right there, what just happened? It overshoots sometimes. But it's kind of nice when it's still a little wet, because you can kind of like, it's forgiving. Sometimes you can just give it a little wipe down. I try to be really clean when I paint, because painting is, other than like, you know, mold making and casting, it's one of the messiest mediums, but it's also one of the mediums that you can be the most efficient in by having everything organized, having your paints only in one spot. You don't move it from there. You have your cups in one spot, and right now I'm using my little water cup right here to kind of drain out any of the old paint before I flush it. And then obviously I have my little water bottle here to thin out any of my paint. I use water to thin out my paints. You can buy paint thinner, but I think it's cheaper just to use water. I'm gonna give him a little butt chin.
Next time for the live stream, if it's just going to be a chat, not so much working on anything. Starting tonight, you can probably go on your story like what I do and put up a question thing and just put in your highlights, so throughout the next 2 weeks, if people want to ask questions, they can do it, so that you can have some material prepared.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that if I'm just gonna do a live stream of chatting next week.
And I could do the same and just send you the questions.
I'll just put out a bunch of, you know, questions, or a poll for people to ask me questions, and then I'll just read them off during the live stream.
Or if you want to do it like a podcasting style, where we just find a list of topics and just go off, it'll definitely get us through an hour at least.
Yeah.
One topic could get us off with an hour because we go off on tangents all the time.
Sorry, I know I keep pulling it out of frame. I'll try to keep it in frame as much as possible.
It's the constant battle between pulling it out of frame or sticking your head in frame.
Yeah, it's like it's either I go like this, you guys see my big fat face, or I kind of pull it in closer to my face. Highlighting, I'm shadowing a lot of areas right now, and like I said, I'm gonna try to make this one as simple as I can. Obviously, I'm not gonna go all out with this one because I want to get it done by the end of the live stream. I got about like 40 minutes left, or 38 minutes left before the live stream ends. So I'm just gonna keep it a little simple. The hair's gonna take me a while, so I want to make sure I get to that. The eyeballs might take me a little bit of time. I'm not really too worried about those. I would like eventually to go back in and add a little bit more pink. I think it's needed, especially around the eyes. But like I said, I'm going to try to just keep moving forward with colors. And like, I hate when that happens. It just like shoots out because it gets clogged. But it's fine. Move on. It's too late for that. So I'm sure you guys have been hearing Brandon in the background talking. Right now he is casting up. Or he's not casting, he's fixing a bunch of castings for me that he did for me.
That I did terribly.
Yeah, but he's learning right now. And one of the steps to learn is to fix your mistakes. So instead of throwing those castings away and trying to start again, I'm having him fix them. But he's definitely getting better at the process of doing it. And if you're wondering what he's fixing, it's my bases. At the end of the video, I'll take the head off and I'll put it on one of the bases just to give you guys an idea of what it looks like all assembled. Which you guys already know what it looks like, but with this one on the body. I want to show you what this one looks like. I always like getting behind the ear. Don't forget behind the ears. Yes. You can kind of see already how it's starting to like form together. You know, like I said, this one's a very simple paint job compared to how I usually do them. It's also a little bit more different. I went with a little less kind of oversaturated look. Made him a little bit more zombified. Because the original ones, I'm using the like one of the first, not the first, but one of the first painted posters of Frankenstein where you get to see his true colors. And he has almost this like saturated green look to him. And I kind of went with that because I thought it would be interesting to kind of try to follow that concept. But the more and more I do it, the more I realize I'm not really into an oversaturated like skin tone. So with this one, I'm trying to go with a little bit more slight realistic in a way. It's a little bit more zombified. It's more like dead skin, dead flesh, which it is. He is just a corpse, a walking corpse. So once we hit 9:30, I'm gonna start on the eyes and I'm gonna start on the hair, and I might get to the point where I can kind of add in the little silver just for you guys to see. So eventually I'll go back in with this green color, but it'll be a little bit more darker. It'll be almost like a black green, and that's when I'll go in and add his like final highlights. But like I said, for now I'm just gonna keep it kind of simple. Is that the only water we have?
That's the one that we dropped. But you could use the one I was drinking if you need it. I don't want to step.
Might need a little bit more. And I'm just gonna clean out my airbrush and try to get. Yeah, I think that's good for now. I think I made my point as far as what I'm trying to accomplish with his look. So now I'm just gonna go in and I'm gonna add some of the little details just so you guys can see what it really looks like. It's kind of out of frame. I'll try to push it back in. Or here, I'll try to move the camera a little bit so you can kind of get a centered shot of him. There we go. There's my little cup of acetone. I use sometimes acetone to clean it out, my airbrush, but that's when all the paint is completely gone. Like the majority of it, because if there's a good chunk of paint left in there, it'll almost turn the paint into tar, and it'll make it much harder to take out. It'll do the complete opposite of what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm gonna just leave a little bit of water in there to kind of help it clean. And then here comes my carpal tunnel.
I hear that.
All right. All right.
That's the spot.
Oh, yeah. Right now I'm gonna get one of my little mixing cups.
As soon as you turned off there, like it just went off in the live stream, dead silence.
Yeah.
It went from just like, it's like when babies have like the noise machines to help them sleep. It was like that. As soon as it ended, I was like, what's wrong with the world?
Yeah, this little compressor is really loud. So I got some paint that I'm not sure if it's gonna have any issues. It's a little bit translucent for some reason. It's supposed to be opaque black. But I gave it a little extra mixing, hoping that it will kind of fix the issue. Yeah, you can see it's a little translucent. I don't know if it just, the issue is it didn't have enough tint in it. It's interesting. But I'm going to keep going because right now this is the only black I have available. I went to go look for more earlier today, and for some reason they were all out. I was just like, out of all days, So I'm going to just make do with this. Yeah, like anything that could have gone wrong in this live stream went wrong, which is great.
I felt a little bit. It went a little smoother than last time, even though it kind of was about the same in retrospect.
Yeah.
Because the last one ended rocky and finished strong, and this one kind of is just bumping all the way around.
Yeah, it's just.
But it's fine. We roll with the punches.
We're going off road with this live stream. Yeah, so with the hair, I do the trim line first, and I just use like a really fine paintbrush. And I just go in and kind of drag it to the ends.
When you said we're going off-road with this live stream, I had a flashback to when we were filming The Scavenger, and I think that'd be a great story to talk about.
Oh, we want to...
I feel like that'd be a very entertaining tale.
Brandon brought up the off-roading story of when we went to go film The Scavenger. So that was an interesting day of filming.
To say the least.
To say the least. It was... So how the day started off is we left... to go to our shooting spot around, I think it was like 9 a.m.
Yeah.
We spent hours looking for the perfect spot. And the reason being is because I had already an initial idea of where I wanted to film, but I was very indecisive of like really specifically where in that area did I want to film. And I was familiar with where it was, but I wasn't familiar of like the specific location. Like I knew how to find.
You knew what the place looked like, but you didn't know how to find the place.
I knew, yeah. I got off the right exit, and it was in like a shooting range, and I remember that, and we were in the right area. But as far as how deep in the shooting range it was, for the life of me, I couldn't remember. So we just drove and drove. But last time I was there, we were I went with my family to go, shoot some guns, American style. And we went in an off-road car. This time I was in my 4-cylinder Kia Forte.
It's still just crazy to hear.
The car was fine afterwards, but we drove out. I swear, it was like 4 to 5 miles.
Yeah.
The middle of nowhere. And we just kept driving and driving until we could find the perfect spot. And oh my God, it was very like nerve-wracking, because if at any point I got a flat tire, we were done for. Like
Absolutely.
we were so far out. We couldn't see the road. We couldn't see the freeway at all. There was no signs of any cars. And it was just like if you kind of like spinned around in a circle and lost sense of direction, you'd be screwed. There's no checkpoints. There's nowhere to help you get out of that situation. Anyways, it was a little nerve-wracking because there was tons of like potholes and rocks. I kept running over so many rocks, and at so many points we had to get out and check to see if the tire was flat, because we were just so confident that was the one. Like
Yeah.
that was the one that's gonna make us stranded.
Yeah, and it wasn't even that. We started driving in a direction, we stopped, and Alan took out his drone, and we flew in a couple directions to scout, and once we scouted from a remote location, then we decided to just drive out there, even though we didn't know how to get there. We were just like, that's a big mountain, let's just head towards it and try and find our own road. And there's no designated road. It's a million tiny, like, dirt bike, like, little roads.
Yeah, that was the amazing part, was when we found that mountain from a distance. And we could tell, like, it was the spot. Like, it was very rocky, very cliffy, I guess. but we didn't want to drive all the way over there, so Alan took out his drone and flew it as far as he could to the location before we risked driving, going off-road.
Risked your car's existence. First, we risked his drone.
Because like, to get to that mountain, it was at least 2 miles away. Because it was like a flat plain, and we can clearly see how far the mountain was. But it was definitely like a 2 mile away. It was like the distance was at least like 2 miles away.
Yeah.
So we tested with the drone first before we risked.
Yeah, before we drove out there and found out it wasn't the spot.
Yeah, because that would have been terrible.
And to put into perspective how far we drove, that shot where the drone's going backwards and you see like quote unquote the desert planet.
That's facing
towards the freeway.
Yeah, that's
facing the road we had to go to get back. So all that land you see was what we had to trek. It's mind-blowing when you think about it like that. That you see this giant desert plain, and that's the direction we came from.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
It's crazy.
And here's a little thing I didn't put in the video for tomorrow, the synopsis of the making of the Scavenger. When it zooms out completely, like the farthest it zooms out before it cuts to black, you can actually look. The bottom left is my little Kia Forte. And you can kind of see the scale in which we had to travel. And, the car in which we used to travel. It's kind of funny. I didn't notice it until, I published it. And I noticed my little Kia in the corner, and I was like, oh, my God. I'm like, if there's anything to take you out of the scenery in a galaxy far, far away, is a little Kia Forte.
The brand new Kia Forte with 0% APR financing. It's its own commercial. It's like a Super Bowl commercial. Everyone thinks it's a new Star Wars project, and it's just like the new Kia Forte.
But yeah, that was an amazing drive. And then I think one of the scariest parts was getting out of there before the sun set. We were like rushing out. It was like, what's it called, Fortnite? Trying to drive out before the shadow just casted over us, and we were not only miles away from the main road, but we couldn't even see where we were going and recognize anything. Like everything was barely recognizable, let alone in darkness.
Not even 4 times, way more than that, 20 times to just to look and see if we could see the tire treads.
Yeah, that's how lost we got, or how much of a maze it was. It was easy to get to the mountain, because you could see it from a distance.
Wing it the general direction.
Yeah, because we drove out in a general direction until it was visible, and once it was visible, we just kind of winged it, trying to get to that location. But trying to get back to the freeway where you don't see at all where it's at, you literally don't see the freeway until you're a mile to it.
Yeah.
And we were 5 miles out.
Yeah.
We had to get out of the car and kind of retrace our steps by following the exact tracks to my car, which was kind of easy because it was the only car off-roading in that area.
Yeah,
the rest were little tire tracks from T-Rexes or 4x4s. It was freaking hilarious.
Yeah, and 3 or 4 times we weren't even sure of the tread, and then either you or Alan's like, let's just go.
Yeah.
We're gonna wait. The sun's gonna go down, and we won't be able to see treads at all if we just keep trying to decide. So let's just go. And luckily, we were right.
Yeah, we just had to hustle, and we found our way in luck. It was all luck, really.
Yeah, dumb luck.
Because if at any point we got lost, I don't know how we would have found our way out.
We wouldn't have. We would have flown a drone to the freeway for safe, for someone to come help us. Then they would have stolen the drone.
Yeah,
that's exactly.
We would have flown the drone with a little sticky note that says, "Please come help us."
And tie them around our heads and walk, like in freaking holes where they're all shirtless digging holes in the middle of the desert. We'd be just trying to walk back to the freeway somehow.
It would become a horror film after that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we got out and played with some light bulbs for 5 to 10 minutes, and then got back and kept going.
Yeah. So as we were driving back to the freeway, there was some light fixtures that were kind of just laid out as target practice. So we just started So we pulled over and we grabbed them and we just started shattering them and throwing them, playing
You know,
baseball
what
with
happened
them.
was we almost found our way back, and we're just trying to get back, and Robert stops and goes, "Hey, there's a bunch of light bulbs outside," and we're like, "Okay," and he goes, "Let's go break them." Like I need to let off some steam, and then we did that for like 10 to 15 minutes. Got back in the car, and you cut your hand with one, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I almost sliced my hand open. If I would have put more pressure on it, I went to like swing it, so I was holding it like this, and I went to swing it, but because there's so much weight of the pole extended, it snapped in the middle of my palm, and it just like sliced right here in the middle of my hand. But I'm like, if I would have put any more pressure, that would have just punctured right through my hand, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want to go through this again.
Yeah, and it was funny because you were the one that got cut. It was your idea to break the bulbs.
Of course,
And then when
that's
we were
what I
done,
deserve.
we were like, who would leave a bunch of light bulbs out here and not break them?
I
That's like the whole reason why you go out here into the middle of nowhere is just to break stuff and get away with it. And when Robert says it's a shooting range, it's not like a normal shooting range where there's a designated shooting area. It's this giant mass of land where you could go wherever and shoot. So it's so sketchy. Like you could have been in crossfires at any time.
Oh yeah, it's easy to just like
Just drive through where people are shooting because you just don't know. It's crazy.
It's crazy, but it was worth the risk.
And it was a best case scenario.
Yeah.
And we got pizza, so it was even better.
Oh yeah, that was fantastic.
We'll go again. Under better circumstances.
Yeah, we'll go to finish the film.
No, we'll go get pizza just to celebrate the fact we made it out.
No, we'll go take some guns and go shoot
Shoot some pizza?
each other.
Bro, take it to the range and shoot the suit when it's all over.
Make that into
It's
a
like instead of
cinematic.
destroying the mold for your sculptures, it's like, let's just destroy the one and only suit in existence.
I know. But yeah, I definitely want to finish this scavenger project and make it its cinematic short film. I don't know how I'm going to do it. There's a lot of options, but it's all up to people's support because it's going to be a very big project. I'm estimating it's going to cost me around 10 grand to get the whole thing set up, which is in some instances fairly cheap considering, you know, I'm sculpting and creating sets on my own. Props is one of the most cost-effective things in filmmaking, other than, you know, maybe cast
Paying
and
your actors.
yeah, paying your actors, which we don't.
Yeah, exactly. 'cause
We use each
there
other.
are no actors.
Yeah.
It's just us doing stuff.
But yeah, it's going to be a very expensive part of the film. It's going to help fund Vader. He's a very expensive character to make. He's going to be, his suit is completely all leather, and I'm very open to using pleather or something, but it's still very expensive.
Yeah.
Automotive paint to paint his suit is one of the other expensive things. Automotive paint, a gallon, especially the good stuff that lasts, is I think around like $150, $200. I'm not really sure. It might be a little bit more depending on where you're buying it from. But on top of that, I want to do sets. I want to be able to hire a crew for the week. And yeah, it's going to be only like a week of shooting. I wouldn't want to do more than that, just for the sake of it's out in the desert and it's going to be
skeleton crew.
Yeah,
Keep it small.
keep it small. I don't want to have to come back and film. I know people's priorities aren't always on what you're working on, so having to rely on such a big crew also means that you have to rely on their schedule, and trying to knock it out in a week seems fairly easy, or not fairly easy, but a plausible challenge because most of the film is kind of split between day and night. So it would be very easy to kind of shoot half of the film during the day and finish it off during the night. Now, if the whole film the majority of the film took place during the day, that would be much more of a challenge because obviously you have so much. You have only a certain amount of time before the sun is completely gone, and
completely up.
And completely up. So.
Because California's weird like that.
Yep. So we are reaching 14 minutes before 14 minutes before I end the stream.
Unless you want to do a little 5 minutes late, since we were 5 minutes late.
I think an hour extra is good. But
That's fair.
I just wanted to be able to get the hair to a good point. I think showing off how the skin texture kind of contrasts with the hair is very nice. It gives an idea of what it's supposed to look like. Obviously, I would need a lot more time to finish something like this, but that was a part of the challenge I wanted to take, was to try to get this done within, the 2 hours of the live stream. Obviously, it took a lot more than 2 hours. It took 3 hours. But for future reference, I probably might do a longer live stream and make it known. I don't think people really expect these to go past maybe 40 minutes or so, but I definitely enjoy. I mean, the process of doing this stuff takes hours.
Yeah.
Hours. If I were to live stream something, like for example, Godzilla, there was almost zero to no progress within that live stream, considering I was chatting most of the time.
And sculpting.
And trying to sculpt.
Takes time.
Oh, I kicked the camera again. But yeah, there's only so much you can get done with a certain amount of time. And that's why I make those videos, because it helps kind of shorten the length of all these projects. So you kind of just enjoy the highlights of it rather than have to sit through the entire thing. But, sitting through a majority of a project is another enjoyable thing in itself, because it opens up another aspect of this kind of industry and what I do. It's easy to kind of think that this stuff just kind of happens. In a sense, I know obviously people are aware that there's work behind this, but some people aren't really as aware of how long the work takes. It's not, especially people that ask for commission work, they're kind of just oh, I just want, I'll pay you $100. I want you to sculpt this, just like your Frankenstein. And it's yeah, that's not how it works. $100 will probably cover the clay. Other than that, you're looking at around, $2,000 for a finished product. And it's that's just in materials. And now you're looking into time as far as, what it's going to take to mold, to cast, and then to paint. Obviously the painting takes a long time. If I were to just finish this head, I still have an entire body to paint right after this. And a base, it keeps going. And it usually takes me around a day to get a full one finished. What I might do the next live stream, I bring in Frankenstein. I might finish a base, show off what I have done for this Frankenstein. Or I might jump back on this Frankenstein in a later live stream and finish it off. Yeah, I think it would be kind of interesting to kind of start this from beginning to end. I do have some stuff coming up that might kind of simplify this process a little bit more, as far as making a cinematic for some of my artwork. So you can kind of just, like I explained before, just kind of see the highlights, the interesting parts of all this. But that's, as far as live streams go, this is my whole purpose for doing these, is to kind of give a real life first person demonstration of what it takes to get something like this done. And obviously you can definitely get faster at this. I've been speeding up my processing time on painting these heads. The first one took me just the head over a day to really kind of base out, because you're figuring it out at first. That's how it kind of works. You're kind of just working through the process, and then once you get a flow, it's a lot easier to just jump at mass production line. So I'm gonna switch out my brush and I'm gonna get the last of my other black paint. I think it's a little bit more thicker. This one's a little watered down. See if I use this one. All right.
9 more minutes, broski.
9 more minutes. I'll get this at a decent spot in 9 minutes, and the rest I'll finish off in another live stream. But for now, I'll give you guys a little taste of what it's gonna look like. So yeah, this paint is a little bit more thicker, so it's a lot nicer to kind of apply. And ooh, isn't that satisfying? Covering up all that green and stuff. I was gonna scrape it off, but it's so thinly applied because it obviously was overspray from the airbrush that I'm just like, screw it. I think it would just be a lot faster just to kind of paint over it. And what's nice about the translucent black is it kind of breaks down the hair, so it looks a little thinner as it gets to the edge, rather than this being a very harsh, like I said, transition. Kind of softens its way to the ends, little like hair follicles. Yeah, I don't mind getting over this bolt right here, because eventually I'm gonna the silver paint actually gives off a better sheen when it's when the base of where you're painting it is black. It's something about the way it kind of like black is non-reflectant. So when you kind of put the silver over it, it kind of enhances that like silvery shine to it. Yes, this is very satisfying.
Username Butt Kisser says looks nice.
Username Butt Kisser, thank you.
Yeah. We're actually in the market for a new butt kisser, so
yeah, Brandon's kind of wearing out on me.
Applications in my Instagram bio. It'll lead to this YouTube channel.
Yeah, this has always been my favorite part of my Frankenstein, is because usually the hair is the last thing I apply. Obviously, it's in this case it's not, but it's nice covering up that huge mass of green that's left over. Oh yeah, it's the funnest part of all this. How much time we got left? Got 5 minutes left.
Oh God.
Oh God.
No. Quality over quantity. Quality over quantity.
I might just go 5 minutes over, just a little bit, just because I do want to make sure I get this all done.
Yeah.
This little.
Yeah. Why would you do a 3-hour live stream
and then I end like
to finish
this.
the back of the head? Exactly.
Oh, you only see that.
That's all they need to see. You don't need to see behind the curtain. You just need to see what we want you to see.
I definitely am not going to be able to get to the eyeballs, because that is a process within itself. The iris of the eyeball is airbrushed, so I would have to use my shitty airbrush right now and try to manage to get a perfect circle right in his eye. So I might just like base out the eye with I use a mixture of like white, tan, and red. And that's what I use as like the base color of his eye. the whites of his eye. It's not really white. It's like an off-white. And if you put white, it looks ridiculous.
And it's not the worst thing that you can't do the eyes right now, because the dead white eyes is kind of a vibe.
Yeah. Like I'll show you.
Cataracts. Give him a break.
I'll show you what he looks like at the end. I have obviously a fully painted one. That one is a lot more saturated than this one. But I vary in my paint jobs, and honestly, I would prefer to vary in paint jobs because, you know, there's always someone interested in a certain look, and not everyone's gonna appeal to your style. Like, I might like a very saturated Frankenstein, but someone might want a more realistic, fleshy look.
Yeah. And also, as a collector, like someone that would collect something like this, you kind of strive to get one different than the rest.
Yeah, it would suck to kind of just make... It's not like... I'm not an assembly line. Each one is a unique art piece, and I don't want to constantly try to replicate the same thing over and over again, because it becomes exhausting. Like, not exhausting in the sense like it's labor effective, but it's just like it's draining as an artist to constantly try to work in the same variables for each paint job. Like, not every sculpture is going to look the same.
Yeah.
Like, imagine trying to sculpt the same thing over and over again exactly the way you sculpted it before. Like, that would be miserable. You're just trying to replicate the same thing you did once, and the first time you did it was the most exciting point of the sculpture, because it was like you were figuring out as you go, and it was all unique, it was all you. But if you're going to do it a second time and you're going to try to replicate it, then it's not really, well, it is all you, but it's not unique. You know, it's just a copy of the original. All right, so that's all the hair painted. So this is one thing I mentioned in the beginning of the stream, is that I use a very glossy black for his hair, because at the end of the paint job, I add a matte clear coat to it. And the thing with black hair is it's very tricky to paint, because if you try to use gloss, because black hair is very shiny, so if you try to use like a gloss, it comes off very
Plastic.
Yeah, very plasticky. It looks fake. If you use a matte black, it doesn't come off looking like real hair. So my way to go about this is start with very glossy black and end with a matte finish, and that really dulls it down. This paint is kind of taking a while to dry. So, do you have the heat gun?
I put it back like an hour ago, but I can plug it back in.
Yeah, plug it back in. I'm gonna try to heat it right now, and maybe I'll give it a little coat
I
of.
think it's 10 right now, but what's 5 to 10 more minutes? We're 3 hours in, so it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I'll do a little clear, because I have to clear it anyways, because I can't leave this undone like this, because in the likely event that I chip the paint, what's gonna happen is the whole paint job is kind of ruined. So I have to clear it now to kind of protect it. Make sure it's not too hot. I don't want to blister anything. It's really cold in here, so that's why I have to use this. I could use a hairdryer, but this right now, as long as I'm careful with this should be equally as effective. All right, it's 10 o'clock. I'm going to go for 5 more minutes. I'm just going to try to dry this up, and I'm going to add the clear, and then call it a day. Ooh, that's hot. Yeah, you see how shiny it is? It's like ridiculously shiny. It's very exaggerated. But that's what I need in order to get the look I'm going for with hair. It just looks very, fake and plasticky. Yeah. I'm still warming up my hands too because like I said, it's freezing in here. A very safe way to do this. What I like to do is kind of just get your hair dryer, put it at the lowest, warmest setting, and from like a very far distance, really try to speed up the drying process. Right now, because it's like 50 something degrees in here, I really don't have another option. Like if I put my hand here, I can barely feel it. Yeah. Oh yeah, we're taking pictures after this. Not of this sculpture, but of some other stuff. So I got a long night ahead of me. Tomorrow is going to be my only day off for the rest of the week, and then it's back to grinding at 16 hours a day. I'm trying to get the Godzilla sculpture done. Like I said, by the end of March. So it is going to take a significant amount of time in order to make that possible. So I'm looking at, close to 70 hours a week in order to get this done. Maybe a little bit more, around like 16 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week. And then after the huge work month, I might take a little break for a couple days. But I'm really striving to get the Godzilla done before the Godzilla movie comes out. I've been trying to get this sculpture done literally for the longest, but my problem was I never started it. But I always, like when the movie was announced like a year ago, I was like, I want to do a Godzilla and Kong sculpture to prepare myself for the movie, and never got to it until barely now. And coincidentally, the movie is coming around by the time I'm getting close to finishing my sculpture. So I thought, shorten the time span in which I need to finish the sculpture and try to get it done by the movie's deadline. All right, so now I'm gonna clear it. I'm gonna go to my beautiful yellow cans. I'm gonna take off my rings because I don't want to mess anything up. Now, rule of thumb for spray cans. Rule of thumb for spray cans is make sure they're at least room temperature. You don't want them cold. There's nothing I can do about it right now, but as long as I give it a good mix up and yeah.
Okay, we don't need a sponsorship from Shakeway. Calm down. Or maybe we do.
Yeah, I mean, a sponsor would be nice in general.
A sponsor's a sponsor in my eyes.
All right. That didn't seem like long enough, but let's give it a shot. Don't you fall off on me after all these hours. Oh no. Yeah. Get it at the bottom. Scrape it all on the walls. All right. This is gonna be amazing. Do you mind opening that door? Because it's gonna smell like
I do mind.
like death in here. Oh yeah. That was probably the loudest thing you've ever heard.
Probably.
Ready? Giving a nice mist. I usually go heavy on it, but I don't want the smell to be too overpowering in here. But screw it. Come on, baby. Turn for me. Give me a nice spin. It's nice, make it pretty.
It's funny because I'm watching the stream where it's like 30 seconds late, and I didn't know she started spraying, and I'm watching the video, and I'm like, why does it smell like bubble gum in here or something? Because I'm not even looking at you, I'm looking at the stream.
It's a false sense of smell. It smells like bubble gum, but it's really,
actually death.
It's really death. Death in a rubber can. Did I spray this side? Is that wet?
That shit stinks.
Just give it another coat. I want to be sure. You got the heat gun? Oh, you took it off? You animal.
I'm just trying to get us prepared.
Prepared to end?
Exactly.
Then give me the hot gun.
It's a late start and a late finish. That's just we're obnoxious but consistent.
Yeah. Oh, baby.
That's what people who click on Frankenstein live streams want to hear.
Oh, baby. Yeah. Sure. All right. Just real quick. I just really quickly want to add the little silver in his head. Just to finish off strong.
All the way.
And just like that, I fucked up.
Nice. Like I said, consistent.
Consistently screwing up on this live stream.
Obnoxious but consistent.
Yeah. If there's anything to expect from this live stream, it's consistent obnoxiousness.
It keeps us on our toes.
All right, I need to highlight the trim right here with black before I do that. So that's gonna take a while. I'm not gonna get really into that, but I got the main bolts painted, and that's all that matters to me right now. Okay, let's pretend that's done. Okay. So you shouldn't touch your sculptures after you paint it like this, but I have no choice. I usually wait around like 24 hours before I like put my hands on it. Do you mind hitting that light?
Yeah.
The other one, both.
Gotcha.
All right, just so it's not so harsh in the way you see it. I'm gonna try with both lighting, just to see which one is more, where it's more visible. Yeah. Just hit the light, just one of them. There you go. So that's kind of an idea of how I paint these guys up. Like I said, they usually take a little longer, and I put a little bit more, time into the color. This was kind of just, a quick demo to show off, the process. But yeah, here I'll bring over the fully painted one.
I'll grab it.
Here. So here's a fully finished one. See how this one's a little bit more saturated? It's a little bit more kind of animated.
Refined a little bit.
Yeah.
But this is a YouTube live stream, so you get what you pay for.
This is the base it comes with. See, so it's like a whole process. There's a lot more than just, the head. But there you go. Oh, and here's the back. I don't have the propeller attached to it, but that's fine. But that's how I paint the back of the windmill. All right, well, that's it for this live stream. This is the ugliest position you can see my face in, but it's still beautiful. All right, so thank you guys for watching. This was 3 hours. I'm tired. I'm sure you're tired of listening to me and watching this live stream, so I'm going to cut it there. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned to more live streams, and I'll see you all in the next one. Now I'm gonna turn it black, but Brandon, turn off the live stream when I do. Okay, bye. Oh, you didn't do it.
Fool.
Now it looks stupid. All right, just look at the wall until I turn off the live stream. Look at. There you go. Enjoy that.
You don't pay me. I thought you were telling me to look at the wall, not them.